All right, ladies and gentlemen, poker is absolutely brutal when you are card dead. Poker is one of the most enjoyable games I have ever had the pleasure of playing, but you know, there are times when you go completely card dead for an entire session. And this is one of those sessions. Luckily, we were able to pick up a couple of interesting hands to go over for the vlog, so let's jump right in. Starting off hand number one here with the Nick game in full effect. We did add on 2 black chips to our initial 300 starting stack, so we're sitting at about 500 bones at the moment. We look down at Jack 9 suited, and with the Nick game on, this is a good enough hand for us to get in the middle and put in a raise. I open the action to $20. Low Jack calls, the high Jack calls, the cutoff calls, and then the button is not going to put in a call. He's going to raise to $131. The small blind says no thank you, but the big blind, to my surprise, puts in the call. Now, our hand isn't anything super impressive, but now that the big blind has called behind us, we're getting a pretty good price to put in the call here. And I suspect that if I also call, we might get 1 or 2 calls behind as well, because the players behind us will also be getting great pot odds. So I like our hand in this spot. I do decide to put in the call for 131. The low Jack folds, but the high Jack and the cutoff both call. 667 bones in the middle as we go to this flop, which comes out Jack, Deuce, Ace with 2 hearts, ladies and gentlemen. The big blind goes all in. When the action gets over on me with the pot odds that we're getting here, we are going absolutely nowhere with our pair plus flush draw. I go all in for a little bit more, 351. This pot balloons up to 1106, and we go heads up to the run out. The turn is the 9 of spades, now giving us 2 pair, and then the river is the Jack of spades. Not the way I was expecting the run out to go, but I'm very happy with our full house, especially when our opponent, Mr. River Rat over here, shows us Ace King offsuit. Apologies for the camera being all over the place. My gimbal lost power and it turned off on me for a second, but we're back to normal now. But yeah, sick hand. Let's jump into the next one. It took an hour for us to hit that last hand, and it's been about another hour before we play this one, so the Nick game is on once again. We are on the big blind this time with Ace 9 offsuit with about 1060 in our stack. We see an open by the cutoff to 20, the button calls the 20, and the small blind calls the 20, so when the action gets back over to me, since we are closing the action and we have an ace with the Nick game on, nobody seems particularly strong with a $20 open and then 2 people flatting. So I did contemplate putting in a 3-bet here, but I think Ace 9 offsuit is just a little bit too wide, even with the Nick game on. I decide to just flat instead, so we have $80 in the middle going to this flop of 5, 4, 10 rainbow. Did I say rainbow? I meant monotone. 3 diamonds on the board. We have the nut flush draw. I decide to check this through as we only have ace high for now. Action gets over to the button and he decides to bet $65, at which point I obviously am going to put in the call. Nobody else wants to tussle with the river rat, so we go heads up to this turn, which comes a beautiful 7 of diamonds. I'm thinking our opponent could have also been on a smaller flush draw on the flop, so I decide to check it over to him to see what he does, at which point he continues for $100. I contemplate raising, but I don't want to scare our opponent away. I feel like it would look too strong if we raise now, and there's nothing we're really afraid of on this board, besides maybe a board pair. But if our opponent had a set on the flop, he definitely would have slowed down on this turn card, so I think it's more likely that he has maybe a jack, queen, or king high flush. So we just put in the call and we go off to this river with 410 in the middle, and it comes the king of spades. And this is the point in the hand where I do think I made a mistake. If our opponent has a king high flush here, he's never going to fold to a bet. But if he has a queen or jack high flush here, he will most likely just check back this river in the event that we have a king or ace high flush ourselves. So I do think I probably should have let out. Unfortunately, that is not what I did. I went ahead and checked this over to our opponent, assuming he was never checking back a flush. And unfortunately, our opponent just went ahead and checked it back. Not what I wanted to see. And since the river went check, check, and we are in the blinds, I had to show my hand first, and we never found out what our opponent had. A bit of a blunder on my part there, but the situation is what it is. Gotta keep playing cards. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you guys may have not noticed, but the raid boss did come back in for this session. Mr. B. Ryan over there in seat 8. Unfortunately, this session has been pretty timid thus far, and he is getting up to go home soon. So we're doing a PLO flip for old time's sake. $250 from 4 players. Let's run it out and see if we can scoop this $1,000 pot. Alrighty. Beat a deuce.
Yeah, any card.
Pair.
Pair of sixes.
Pair of sixes. 4, 5.
Straight. Sixes. Okay, he wins.
Heart.
Deuce. Oh, pair of sixes is winning.
Pair of sixes. All right. I got it. You're saying there's a chance. You're saying there's a chance. Ace high. Oh no. Oh my God. There's no way. There's no way. Wow.
Pair of sixes.
Wow.
Boom.
Wow, absolutely crazy that just a pair of sixes was enough to take this down. Operation Man Bun. Oh, my apologies. Operation No Bun ends up taking down this PLO flip with 9-7 for the straight. Sorry guys, we were having some technical difficulties, so the action is getting to you slightly later than normal, but I'll get you up to speed. I am under the gun with ace jack offsuit. Under the gun +1 makes it $20 to cut off calls, big blind calls, and then when the action gets over to me, I'm putting the call in as well. We go to this flop multi-way and it comes 5-4 ace with 2 hearts. I check, hoping to set the trap here. There's not too much on this board we need to be afraid of besides the flush draw, but unfortunately the action does check around. The 4 of diamonds peels off on the turn, now putting 2 flush draws out there, but I'm not too worried about anybody having a 4 in the spot. The big blind leads out for $30, and I contemplate putting in a raise here, but I don't want to scare him off if all he has is a pair of fives or potentially a pocket pair like pocket 8s or pocket 9s. We did check the flop, so he could be taking a stab here thinking he has the best hand. So I decide to just call here. Under the gun +1 puts in the call as well, and the button folds. 151 in the middle, hoping for a clean run out for this river card, and that's exactly what we get with the 9 of clubs. Action goes over to me, and I decide to make it $45 when under the gun +1 decides all of a sudden he has a monster and decides to re-raise us to $110. This line didn't really make sense to me. If our opponent had a better ace, I would have expected him to fire the flop and turn, but instead he just checked back and then called the turn. So I'm not really sure what our opponent is trying to represent here. If he flopped a set, he would have done the same thing as well. This 9 doesn't really change anything on the river, so my assumption is that our opponent just missed. But if he missed his draw, would he really raise to 110 when I bet 45? It's not really a big enough raise to get us to fold a lot of our hands like this one with top pair. The sizing makes me feel like it's a value bet and he wants the call, but realistically, I can't really figure out what hand he would play this way. Ultimately, curiosity got the better of me and I put the chips in the middle and our opponent says good call. Probably should have let him show for the vlog, but I'm not one to make people show the losing hand. So we show our cards and scoop in this pot. And for this next hand, we are, can you guess? Under the gun. Once again, it is a PLO Bomb Pot, but it is capped at $100. Here at Outlaws during the 1-3 games, they do capped PLO Bomb Pots at every dealer change. It's mostly just gambling, but at least it's capped and it does help bring some action to the game. This hand was no exception. We look down at ace, 3-3, which they were double suited, but we at least have the hard draw with this one. Everybody's in for $10 as we go to the flop, so there's $80 in the middle and the board comes out 9-4-3 with 2 diamonds. All we have is bottom set, but we're feeling spicy, so I decide to cap it at $80, and then the low jack behind us recaps it at the max, which is 90. Button calls, the small blind calls, and the big blind calls as well. I have a major decision here for an additional $10 to make 530. Should we put in the call, ladies and gentlemen? Are we getting the right pot odds? Who knows? I don't know how to play this game, but we put in the call anyway. Fading the world as we go to this run out, hoping not to see a 5, 6, 7, or diamond. And unfortunately, we say a 7 immediately. So now we want the board to pair, but that is not what we get on the river. We get the ace of diamonds. So we got upgraded from bottom set to top set, but the straight and flush draw got there. And unfortunately, we are losing this one to the queen high flush draw. $100 down the drain, but it was worth the risk. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, for this next one, the knit buttons are out. We are on the cutoff with 1250 in our stack, and we have ace 5 of spades. We see an under the gun plus 1 limp of $6. The low jack calls, high jack calls, and when the action gets over to us with the knit game on and a decent hand like this, we are going to put in a raise to $35. Don't expect to meet too much resistance if everybody is limping in for $6. This should be enough to thin out a bit of the field. Players behind us get out of the way, but under the gun plus 1, the low jack and the high jack do call as well. Think if the low jack would have folded, the 2 players behind probably would have folded as well, but oh well, we're here now, so time to get with it. 144 in the middle, and we see a pretty good flop for our hand, 9-6 ace with a spade, so we have top pair and a backdoor flush draw. After everybody checks it over to me, I expect us to have the best hand here in this spot a lot of the time. If anybody had an ace, I'm assuming they would have taken a stab at this board, but since nobody bet, I'm assuming our ace is good here, so I decide to bet $150. About a pot size bet. Under the gun plus 1 and the low jack get out of the way, and now the hijack all of a sudden decides that he likes his hand and goes all in for $452. What the actual is going on here? And this spot was so weird, I actually went through my thought process out loud, so we'll give you the IRL commentary.
Problem is I don't believe him. If he had an ace, he would have raised unless you hit a set. But pocket 9s, he probably raised too. Maybe pocket 6s. Ace 6, ace 9. Maybe ace 6 off. I don't know. I call. Another spade.
Huh?
Another spade. Damn.
Ace.
Kicker.
Place.
6, no. Queen 6, no. Does it? Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what happens when you tip your dealers. They bail you out when you're way behind. I honestly did not take our opponent's all in as a value shove. If he had 2 pair or a set, I figured he would have just called, check to me one more time on the turn, and then put the money in on the river if I didn't do it for him. So because of that, I thought his shove was very light and he just wanted to take the pot down then. Obviously we were wrong, but very happy to be chopping this pot. And unfortunately, because we ended up chopping that last hand, we had to keep our knit button because a chop is not a win. So unfortunately, that resulted in us losing the knit game. So we had to pay the $100 knit tax as in the form of a splash pot. And then we looked down at 5-7 offsuit, saw a raise to $50, and I wanted to get in there and defend my money. Flop came out 6 queen 9 with 2 diamonds. All we had was a gutter ball. We saw a big bet, and unfortunately we just had to let this go. Not gonna get crazy here and try to punt off the rest of my stack to defend off $100. Already lost 150 in this hand, and that's all she wrote, ladies and gentlemen. We tried, we gambled, but the cards were not in our favor this time. And I'm not really sure what happened between 10 p.m. and 10:15 because now we are sitting at $900. Even after that last hand where we had to pay the knit tax and we paid the 50 pre-flop, we still had about $11.50 because we started that hand with around $13.40. Had to pay the $100 knit tax, which left us at around $12.40. And then with the extra 50, actually we should have been almost at $1,200 more or less. So I'm definitely certain that we missed a hand, potentially 2. Probably just 1 between 10 and 10:15, but I don't have it in the footage or my recycle bin for hands that I missed. So unfortunately, I cannot recall what got us down to this about $900 stack here, or 960 it looks like, because we got 2 greens over in our right hand. Anyhow, for this next hand, we look down at 2 sevens and the small blind. We see the button limp for $3. I decide to bump up the price of poker to 15. Big blind and the button both call. Pretty small pot here. Go to this flop, which comes queen, deuce, ace, rainbow. Don't really have too much here, but you know, we were the pre-flop aggressors, so I decide to bet $25 here on the flop. Only the big blind calls, and we go off to the turn, which comes the 9 of spades. We currently have 4th pair, so there's really not much we can do here, but our flop bet was so small, it's possible that our opponent floated us with a queen. So I'm going to fire one more time for $40. Big blind goes absolutely nowhere, so I'm pretty sure he has an ace now. River comes a 9 of hearts. There's 175 in the middle. I think it's just time to wave the white flag here. I go ahead and check. Button takes his time and ends up betting $75. We end up letting it go. This hand isn't even good for a bluff catcher in this spot, losing to absolutely everything besides the deuce. And we kiss another $80 goodbye. And unfortunately, after that hand, the bleeding out continued just a wee bit. About an hour goes by, called and saw a few flops and missed them. Nothing too much to really report, but our stack was hurting. It was at 631 now. For this next hand, we see an under the gun open to $3. The low jack calls the 3. Hijack makes it 50, and we look down at pocket aces, ladies and gentlemen. Don't want to let people in here for cheap. We played our aces like garbage last week. Not going to do it this time. We put in a decent raise to $125, 2.5xing the previous raise, and I don't expect anybody else to call except for the hijack, or at least I hope not. And we get an even more interesting situation.
Oh, coming. I didn't see one. He goes 3 and 500.
125, cool.
475.
You're bluffing me? You're about to take that?
Eventually, the hijack does throw his cards into the muck. We're obviously going all in here with our pocket aces, and at this point, the low jack cannot fold. Our all-in is only for $125 more, so we put the money in the middle. Go into this board run now, only going once. 13, 19 in the middle, and the board comes out king 4, 6 with 2 diamonds. Pretty good flop for us. Turn is a 5 of hearts. River is a jack of hearts. We table our hand, and we never did see the opponent's hand, but I'm not worried about it. Happy to take the chips. And unfortunately, that was the last interesting hand of the night for yours truly, but we did capture 2 pretty interesting hands the table was involved in, so I got 2 more before we close out this vlog for you. All right, this next one's pretty wild, and so we are sitting on the big blind and we look down at Jack 9 offsuit. There is a $6 straddle. We see 2 limpers, and then the cutoff opens to $40. Action gets over to the button, who also decides to call the $40. And then the small blind just goes absolutely sicko mode here and decides to bump up the price of poker to $280. Why, I have absolutely no idea. That seems like a ludicrous raise. But I'm very thankful because now we can comfortably fold our hand, not getting pot odds here. Not that we should have called regardless with Jack 9 offsuit, but you know, we were getting splashy. Action folds back over to the cutoff, who decides to put in the call. Button also puts in the call, so there's $840, almost $1,000 in here already, going to this flop of king, queen, 7 with 2 diamonds. The action checks over to the button, who decides to make it $375, and then this happens.
Raise to 15.
Some asshole's talking shit. I laid a good one. That was all me. Sorry. That was 100% me. A little protein shake going through the system.
Hey, who's it gonna hit first?
Sorry, Yoshi.
These guys are absolutely wild in at Outlaws. Cannot believe this just happened in the middle of a $1,500 bet, but it was nothing short of absolutely comical. Anyhow, the cutoff gets out of the way pretty quickly. Button takes for quite a while, but eventually puts in the call. $3,670 in this pot. Turn comes a 6 of hearts, and the river is a 7 of clubs. The small blind shows pocket aces, and they are going to be good. And now we are coming to the last interesting clip we got of the night, just to showcase what wonderful action you're going to get when you come here to Outlaws when we're playing the Thursday game. We look down at ace deuce offsuit and decide to get in the mix here. It is the last round of the Nick game before we take off for the night, so we have to try to get rid of this button. Flop comes 10-3-7 with 2 diamonds. We have the ace of diamonds, but we see a $20 bet. Excuse me, $40 and a couple callers, and then Kev Dog decides to wake up and make it 240. It wasn't enough for this animal to completely gas us out earlier, and now he's on the table and trying to hose us out of the pots as well. And we'll let the clip run from here.
$240.
Oh, thank you, Kev.
200 on top.
My net one's already gone too, so I'm not like trying to steal no net button.
Oh. Yo. All in.
I call.
Call.
Wanna go once or twice, Yosh?
Let's do it twice.
2 times.
Twice, okay.
Hold on, what do you got?
I got open there.
Okay. 2 times.
That's one.
I got the first one. I got the second one.
Yeah, is it the flash?
Thank you. I'm not around. Hashtag who has 4 kids. Hashtag not around tonight. 9483.
Let's go.
Come to Outlaws. Play with the floor.
And that's all she wrote, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go to the cash out. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up our involvement here. We were luckily able to get rid of our knit button, and it was time to rack up and cash out. Session started at about 5 o'clock. It was around 12:30, I think, when we got up and finally headed over to the cage. Session was about 7 hours and 20 minutes long. Bought in initially for 300, added on for an additional 200, and ended up cashing out 1220. Very fortunate that we caught aces near the end of the night and got it all in pre-flop. Otherwise, we would have been about dead even on the session, more or less, maybe up $100 or so. Anyhow, we profited 720 on this session, brings us to an hourly profit of around $98 an hour, or 32 big blinds per hour. Not too shabby. Or at least I'd like to say not too shabby, but then that's when our night took a wild turn. As we were leaving, I went to the gas station to gas up before making our hour-long drive home and could not find my wallet. Had a full-blown panic trying to find it, and then realized there was a good chance I left it at work. Unfortunately, I could not confirm, but I was fairly certain it was locked up in my cabinet at work. So I had to just make peace with the fact that I was going to have to wait until the following day to find out if it was or not. But then we had to find a gas station that accepted cash because we did not have a card and everything is closed at that hour. Luckily, we were able to find a gas station and then jump on the freeway. But then we got into a car accident literally within a minute of getting on the freeway, 1 hour from home at 1 in the morning. It was rather unfortunate. Deer jumped in front of the car and totally messed up my car. The hood flew up as soon as I made impact. I couldn't really tell what I had hit or what had happened, so it went dark on me on top of it already being dark on side. Eventually I figured out what happened, had to pull over. There were no tow trucks or CHP available, so I ended up having to come back to Outlaws. One of the employees was kind enough to pick me up. Hung out there for a while, ended up losing half of our profit, left $350 on the table because I was tired as crap, falling asleep on the table while playing. Ended up just stopping, taking a nap for a couple hours, got a ride home at 5 in the morning. Was able to borrow another vehicle, took a shower, and headed back into work to close out the day on Friday. Very unfortunate series of events, but luckily the airbags did not deploy. I did not get injured and nobody else got hurt. So all things considered, the situation was as minor as it could have been. I'm annoyed about the car, obviously, but situation is what it is. And now it's time to go car shopping. So your boy is going to be hopefully picking up another vehicle in the upcoming weeks. That's all I have for you guys. Thank you for stopping by. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Go follow us on Instagram if you haven't already. Good luck on the felt, and I will see you all next time.